Hello, I'm Dr. Harper. This video is in project management, a PERT tutorial in Excel, Golden2 project. So let's bring up the problem. In the Golden2 project, first we had the Golden1 project. And in the Golden1 project, we had the analysis activity on node with the time of completion, critical path, the probability that time of completion greater than 270 days is approximately 0.2348. We had the schedule and the Gantt chart. And down here, we have the actual PERT Golden1 PERT project, the output. Okay, now for the Golden2 project, you have been selected to analyze the Golden2 project, which is the same as the Golden1 project, except for the time estimates of activity G. The team requested the time of completion along with a schedule consisting of a Gantt chart. So it's the same as Golden1 project. Also, the team was concerned about the likelihood of completing the project in a reasonable length of time. A 270-day target was suggested. Again, the same target. Everything was the same as the Golden1 project, except we've changed the duration of one activity. And so the whole purpose of Golden2 project is to illustrate problems that are very common in project management, that can be insidious, that can't be not as obvious, but they're hidden if you know, but they're okay to solve if you know know where to find them and know what to look for. So down here are the results. The AON is the same. The time of completion is still 258 days. That has not changed. The critical path is still the same. That has not changed. But the probability of greater than 270-day target increased to 0.3486. So it went from up here, if you notice, it went from 0.2348 all the way to 0.3486. Now it's a modest increase, and sometimes it can be much more significant. Now the implication is that the probability, even though the time of completion is the same, the critical path is the same, the probability that we'll be late is much greater because you have different parallel paths. And that's what the Golden2 project is illustrating. And down here is the actual schedule, and then down here is the Gantt chart. So let's solve this with Excel. So let's bring up Excel. And so here's the Golden1 project. And so since we've already solved this with the Golden1 project, what I'm going to do is copy this over and then change the time for activity G. And everything will be the same. Small modifications here and there. So let's do that. Okay, so down here, let's click this spreadsheet. Hold the control down, left click and drag, and now we've copied it over. Okay, so now let's come back to the 87 in activity G, 87, 117, 197, Control C. Let me copy that. Let's bring this back, full screen, and let's put it in here. And there it is, and it's going to change everything. Okay, let's go back to 12 so we know what we're doing. But let's bold this, and let's highlight this. And we have highlighted it right there. Okay, because that's what we've changed. Very good. So now we have 87, 17. Well, notice the time of completion is still 258. But if you notice when I added this, the probabilities began to change. So down here, if you recall what we had before, we have ACF, ADF, ADGI, and BEHI. There are four paths. And down here we have the ACF, mean variance standard deviation, ADF, ADGI, and BEHI. And we did this last for the Golden1 project. Now down here we want the probability of 250, 60, 70, etc. So here's a probability of 270, and there's where the 3486 comes in. So you look at this and say, okay, why did it increase? Because the time of completion of the critical path is still 258. There's no problem with that. And notice the critical path is still the same as here's B, here's E with a 0 slack, here's HI, 0 slack. The critical path is the same, the time of completion is the same, but the probability changes. And that's what this Golden-2 project is trying to illustrate. So what's going on? Well, let's see here. Well, we know the time of completion 258. Let me change this 250 here to 258. Okay, and so there's the probability is 0.5. In other words, if it's 258, that's the time of completion. Well, then it's going to be a 50% chance that the time is greater than that, and 50% chance it's less than that. Because that's the whole idea of the critical path, especially when you have a per example. But notice the other paths. ACF is still close to 1. ADF is close to 1. But look at ADGI. It went down to 68%. And so 68 and 0.5, and there's where the probabilities begin to change. If you go back to the Golden-1 project, which we had before, and if I put a 258 in here, and notice it's close to 1, close to 1, close to 1, 0.5. Okay, so that's not that big of a difference. But here, close to 1, not close to 1. And so ADGI now, that's going to start changing the probabilities of the project. Okay, so we bring down the schedule and we have a Gantt chart. And notice this Gantt chart and this schedule and Gantt chart is not exactly the same as the Golden-1 project. Let's bring this down and compare the two. And notice G. G here is changed quite a bit. Well, therefore, since G changes, the probabilities change in the PERT analysis. And that's what this example, a very simple, straightforward example, is trying to illustrate. Now, even though this is a simple example, you can see the relationships. In reality, in complex project, this could happen multiple places, and it's much more difficult to see. Okay, down here, notice what I did here. If you compare the probabilities, again, and so here's the ACF, ADF, both of these are 1, 1, 1, 1. And here's the ADGI that's not close to 1. So therefore, we can see here that here's the BEHI, the X dashed line. The ADGI is the triangle gray line. You can see it's not close to 1. It's moving away from 1. These two combine to create the probability of the project. So you can see how the probabilities combine for the project, and that's going to be much lower probability than you expect. Okay, it begins to go down more. So the likelihood then of becoming early is less, and so becoming late is more. Okay, so that's why it is it's dangerous. It's dangerous when you start having parallel paths in there. Now ADGI, let's back up and notice ADGI is a parallel path with BEHI, even though I is common, so it's not exactly parallel. In this development, I'm assuming it is. I'm treating it as if it is. Therefore, this is not exactly correct, but it's close to correct. Close enough for interpretation, even though it's not exact. In order to get the exact probabilities, you would have to have a little bit different type of analysis. Okay, so there's where the probabilities come in, where the probabilities of 258, BEHI, and 3486. Then I pull the Gantt chart and the schedule, and so that's going to be Golden-2 Project. And so the Golden-2 Project is one slight change, but a significant implication on the probabilities on how the Golden Project is going to be managed. Because if it's not managed carefully with not only one path but the other paths like ADGI, BEHI and ADGI, if both are not managed correctly as if they're critical, then you can have projects that are delayed, and sometimes they really don't know why. Because they focus on the critical path. They don't focus on the non-critical path that become critical because they don't have enough safeguards. So that's the Golden-2 project. I hope this helps. Between now and the next time I see you, I want everyone to be careful and take care.